Grr, arg.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Mixtape Podcast, a podcast dedicated to examining film from a writer's perspective. I'm your host for this time around. My name is Marcelo Nostroza, joined as always by my fellow co-host in crime, Dean Stark. And on today's edition of the show, we will be discussing the 1992 film My Cousin Vinny. So, as I do every week, I will pass it over to Dean so she can take us through this film.
My Cousin Vinny, released in 1992, was directed by Jonathan Lynn and written by Dow Lorna. It is one of my favorite comedies, and if you haven't seen it, please go and watch it and then listen to this because you will not be disappointed in the movie. If you don't know what My Cousin Vinny is about this. Two New Yorkers accused of murder in rural Alabama while on their way back to college call in the help of one of their cousins, Vinny. So the opening scene is we're introduced to Bill and Stan, and they're college students and they're driving across country. They stop in at the side of the road at a grocer called the Sack of Suds, and they grab some food. Bill has his hands full of food and he wants to get a can of tuna, but he can't hold it, so he puts it in his pocket. He goes and he checks out with all the food and gets in the car and they drive off, and then he puts his hand in his pocket and he realizes he forgot to pay for the tuna. Now, they look in their rearview vision mirror and they see a cop that's trailing them, and then the cop puts the siren on and his friend Stan is freaking out going, oh my God, they know we stole the can of tuna. Bill pulls the car over and the cop gets out of his car and points a shotgun at them and demands them to exit the car and put their hands up. And they're kind of sitting there like, oh my God, what is going on? So that was the opening scene. It introduced the kind of two main characters, Bill and Stan. And it sets up the whole story. So what do you think?
I absolutely love the way that this film starts out with the way that the writer and the director choose to introduce Bill and Stan, because there's this great shot of them driving through the small town. And I love how you see in the back of their car that it's full of shit from a visual aspect. The writer and the director tell you a lot about these two individuals in the car without them ever speaking a word. And when they get into the convenience store, you really get a good sense of what kind of people they are, but by the way that they actually shop for the groceries, because Stan is standing in front of a rack full of stuff, full of canned goods, and he tries to pick out the cheapest thing possible. And Bill is the one going, "Oh, but we could go for the more expensive. We could go for the more expensive stuff because the cheap stuff makes you fart." So I really like how the writer and the director did storytelling in this movie, first by just having them drive through the town and showing the inside of their car and telling us a little bit about them without saying anything at all. And then once Bill and Stan were introduced in the convenience store, I really like how we got a good sense of how their personalities are and how their friendship works as friends. And also as a kid, because I grew up watching this movie as a kid, I mean, I could probably recite every scene of this movie verbatim off the top of my head. As a kid, I was always upset that the movie shifts away from Bill and Stan. I was so bought into them as a character that once Vinny and once Vinny and his girlfriend show up, I was like, I don't want to talk to them. I want to want to see more about Bill and Stan in prison. So I really like the way that the writer and the director set up these two characters, because they did it so well that I wanted to see more of them rather than the people that were going to carry the film.
Yeah, once Vinny and Mona were introduced, I didn't care about Bill and Stan because the way that Vinny and Mona were written, I was like, oh my God, this whole movie needs to be about them. They were so over the top and they were so connectable as a couple and also individually that I was like, oh, I don't even care about Bill and Stan. And I think that's what the writer was going for. They were like, okay, we're going to have these two characters, but we're going to have these other two characters that are going to be even more connectable, and you're kind of going to forget about Bill and Stan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because in a way, Bill and Stan are the inciting incident of this whole fucking movie.
Mm, mm,
Without
yeah,
without them, nothing doesn't work. Without them, Vinny and Mona don't come into the town in the first place.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So Bill and Stan are at the police station. They've been arrested, and they just cannot believe that they were arrested for stealing a can of tuna. Like they cannot even wrap their minds around it. And then we go back to the sack of suds, and we see the clerk at the grocer that they bought the food from has been shot and he's dead. And then we go back to the police station, and Bill is being interrogated, and he thinks it's about the can of tuna until the cop says, "Now, when did you shoot the clerk?" And Bill is like, "I shot the clerk." And and the police officer's like, "Yeah, when did you shoot the clerk?" And Bill's like, "I shot the clerk." Like, and
Whoa,
I'm
wait
like,
a
"Oh
minute.
my god." Yeah, yeah, he goes, "Wait." Yeah, he goes, "Well, wait a minute." And then Bill calls his mum, and you can hear his mum's typical New Yorker mum on the phone, like, screaming at him. And then he tells her the news, and she tells him that there's actually an attorney in the family. And Bill asks Stan, like, "What's you have an attorney? Like, who is he?" And Bill says, "It's my cousin Vinny."
Yeah, no, look. I absolutely love the scene in the police station when the police are interrogating Bill because like Dean said, the police officer says, "Okay, so you paid for the groceries. Then what?" "Nothing. We walked out." "So let's back it up. You paid for the groceries. Is that how it started?" "No, we just paid for the shit and left. We just paid for the shit and left." And then the cop goes, "At what point did you shoot him?" And then he goes, "I shot the clerk." "Yes, when did you shoot him?" "I shot the clerk." And then he gets called out, and then Bill goes, "Wait a minute." But I love the moments after that. There's a quick scene with Bill and Stan sitting on a seat outside of the detective's office. And Stan goes, "What are you worried about? They're fucking with us." And he goes, "You don't know what this is about?" "No, they're fucking with us. They don't execute for shoplifting." He goes, "Stan, uh I I'm not we're not getting booked for shoplifting. I'm getting booked for murder, and you're getting booked for accessory to murder." And then it cuts over to Bill and Stan going into the other room in the police station. And Stan goes, "God damn it, fuck." It's like it's just so funny how they kind of are confused about initially about why they got arrested in the first place and how the writer sets all of it up and the jokes that he tells within that space is fan fucking tastic.
So now we meet Vinny, cousin Vinny, and his girlfriend Mona. Vinny and Mona are what I aspire to be in a relationship. I absolutely, it's honestly, it's
No
my
way,
favorite.
really?
Yeah, it's my favorite relationship dynamic I've ever seen on screen
Oh my god.
because they love each other so much, but they give each other shit. None of them are offended by what the other says. They're constantly berating each other. They're constantly like putting each other down, but not in a bad way because they know the other one is telling the truth. They know they tell the truth to the other one and the other one doesn't get pissed off. They just go, "Oh yeah, maybe." Like I love the dynamic and it's just I've never seen another dynamic written kind of that way. There's always one person that gets pissed off and you know what I mean? There's always egos
It's
that come
so
out.
good.
It's so good.
You know,
Mm,
you know what's great about them? That
mm.
they love each other, but they respect each other as well.
Yes, they respect and support each other and they know when to stop and go, "Okay, let's have a serious conversation." That's what I love about them is that they know each other so well that they know when there's a line, but they never cross it. And I love it. So we meet them and they pull up in town and they're packing the car. And Mona gets out, and I love Mona, played brilliantly by Marissa Tomei, has the most, I think it's like a queen, the thickest like queen's accent. And I love the thick New York accent. And she goes,
So
"I felt
good.
something go wrong with the tires." And then a man approaches who is supposedly a mechanic, and he says, "Yeah, you got mud in the tires." And Vinny looks at Mona and says, "You ever heard of that? Mud in the tires?" And Mona says, "No, I never heard of that." And Vinny says she's never heard of that. She knows everything about cars. And this mechanic just starts laughing because a woman can't possibly know anything about cars. And I love that scene because it is a setup to what is going
Oh,
to happen at the end of the movie. So that was a
yeah.
very vital scene. What do you think?
I absolutely love the scene when Vinny and Mona pull up and Vinny starts to, fuck with the tire and kick it. And Lisa says, I think you should put I think you should put on I think you should put on a rack and take a look. And that guy comes up and he says, what's the problem? And then he says, oh, you got mud in the tires. And then he says, well, mud in the tires is just a figure of speech. It's basically when the mud gets inside the base of the wheel, and that's how it fucks up the balance of the car. And like Dean said, I love the fact that Vinny points out that Lisa knows everything about cars and she's never heard about that.
Mona.
And Mona, sorry, Mona knows everything about cars and she's never heard of that. And like Dean said, I love that the writers took that really really early moment to set up a critical character point for Mona, and also how that scene plays a critical role in the third act of the film. I thought was great, but there's a great moment after the guy walks away and Mona goes, I bet their Chinese food here is terrible.
Oh my
And
god, she
then
has this thing
and then
with Chinese food. It's so funny.
and then and then Vinny goes, and then again Vinny goes, you keep just asking, you just keep asking, about Chinese food. You gotta let everybody know you're a tourist. And then Mona goes, what are you, a fucking world traveler?
He's just so sick of her bringing up Chinese food. Like I'm done with this. Shut the fuck up. But you see what I mean? Like the dynamic, you know what I mean? He throws an insult at her and she throws it right back at him, but they don't take offense.
Yeah.
I love it. So Bill and Stan are being directed into a cell, and Stan is just so nervous. He's like, do you know what they could do to people like us in here? Like, do you know what they do? And Bill is like, just get some sleep. There's nobody else in here. It's just us. Don't worry about it. And then later on, Bill's asleep, and this is such a funny scene, a guard lets Vinny in. Now, Stan doesn't know what Vinny looks like, and Bill is asleep. And so Stan thinks that because Vinny is dressed very New York 80s, black leather jacket, black pants, like a black, like looks like kind of like mafia. And Stan is absolutely just packing himself. I know that packing himself, let me use another word that's Australian. He is just absolutely anxiety riddled because he thinks this guy's come in to ass rape him, basically. But the dialogue in this scene, because we know it's Vinny, but Stan doesn't know it's Vinny. And so Stan starts getting the sweats. And Vinny's like, what's wrong with you? And Stan's like, I really don't want to do this, right? And Vinny's like, well, I'm sorry, but it's gonna happen. And he goes, but I don't want to do this. And then Vinny goes, it's your ass, not mine. Stan is like, oh my God. And Vinny goes, you should be on your knees thanking me. And Stan is just like, you can just see his eyes are about to pop out of it. He's about to have a fucking heart attack when Bill wakes up and goes, Vinny. And Stan goes, oh, this is Vinny. But the whole scene is, the way that it's written is hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, no, I love when Vinny meets Stan and Bill in the jail cell. Everything that Vinny says to Stan has a double meaning, and it can be mistaken for it can be taken in a sexual context. And I think that's just the writer writing at the top of his game, and he just writes this brilliant bar between Vinny and Stan. It's just so brilliant. But I also love the moment when he goes, what the fuck is your problem? I did not come down here just to get jerked around. Like he's so fucking annoyed.
Yeah.
That he pushes Stan back, and then he goes to wake up Bill, and when Bill wakes up, he goes, get off. And then he just goes, Vin? He hops off from the top of he hops down from the top bunk, and he goes, Vinny Bag of Donuts, how you doing? It's just so great.
So Bill and Stan are sitting with Vinny, and they're because they don't know much about him. Bill, that's his cousin, but he doesn't know much about his attorney background. So he's asking him, like, what do you practice? Have you ever gone to trial before? And Vinny's like, no. He's like, all right, so you've done like homicide cases? No. And they're like, well, what have you practiced? And Vinny's like, mostly personal injury, never went to trial, never been to court before, and he only passed the bar 6 weeks ago. That's a short scene, but that's integral because what you learn is that he has no fucking idea what he's doing. Absolutely no idea what he's doing. But the way that he gets the job done is probably better than any lawyer kind of could have because of things that kind of happened in the script. So what did you think about the it's exposition, but it doesn't feel like exposition. It feels like something that we need to know, but it didn't feel pushed on us.
You know why it doesn't sound like exposition?
Mm,
Because this is something that clients would ask of a real lawyer
correct.
before they hire them. So this is
Mhm.
why it doesn't sound like exposition. And I really like how the writer skirts our expectations about Vinny, because we're expecting him to be quirky, yes, but we're
Mhm.
expecting him to know about the law.
Mm.
But the
Yep.
fact, but the fact that he's been only practicing for 6 weeks, and the fact that he's only practiced in personal injury, makes you go, is this the guy that we want defending us, or is this the guy
Yeah.
that we want defending Stan and Bill? Like,
Yeah.
is this such a? And then I love the way I love the way when Stan goes, oh, so you didn't pass your first time out? That's okay. I maybe you passed your second time out. And he goes, nope. And then Stan goes 3 times, and he goes, nope. 4 times, and he goes, nope. For me, 6 times was a charm. And they go, what? You took the part. It's just a really great moment. And the other great thing about the scene is the way that Joe Pesci delivers the lines. He does it so laid back and so matter of fact. It's
Mm.
like,
Mhm.
this is no big deal, but it should
Yeah.
be a big deal,
Yeah.
because the thing is, folks, if Vinny fucks up, these kids are gonna fry.
Mm. Yep.
So like, so yeah, it's just a really well written scene, and I love the way that it skirts your expectations of what kind of lawyer Vinny is.
Yes, exactly. So Vinny meets with the judge of the case. And he basically is lying to him. I've been practicing for 16 years, lots of murder cases, no problem. Win some, lose some, being very, very vague, as if the judge can't look him up, which there is a running kind of gag through the movie where the judge keeps looking him up and fucking Vinny keeps coming up with like different names because I don't think he's not qualified to do this. And so the judge would throw him out kind of straight away. And then the judge gives him a book, Alabama Rules of Criminal Procedure to learn before the trial.
I love the fact that Vinny, in his first meeting with the judge, basically lies his face off, and he has to, because
Mm,
if the judge actually knew that he's only been a practicing lawyer for 6 weeks, and he only practiced in personal injuries, there's no fucking way that the judge would let him defend his cousin in a murder. Are you kidding me?
exactly.
And I also really love how you really understand the dynamics of what it's going to be like between Vinny and the judge by the fact when the judge first comes in, Vinny has his feet on the judge's desk,
Mm,
and the judge goes, being a attorney from out of state, you're dressed a little informally, right?" And the judge goes, "Yo, you're not wearing a coat or tie," and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and he dusts himself off. So that's a setup for another running joke that's going
mm.
to happen between Vinny and the judge once we get in the courtroom, which is coming up in just a few minutes.
Another running joke through the script that I didn't write down, but I thought I would bring it up is Vinny and Mona move motels like 3 times because every hotel they move to in every part of the town, there's always something that wakes him up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is such a funny gag. Even when he moves into a cabin in the woods, there's like an owl that fucking squawks at 5 o'clock. This guy just cannot get any sleep. Which did you like the gag? I just thought it was just funny. It was just funny to me.
Yeah, all the obstacles that they put in Vinny's way, on top of the fact that if he doesn't win this case, his cousin is going to die, is just
Mm,
great. But also, that's great character development, because as a screenplay writer, what do you want to do to your main character? You want to give him a challenge, which he's already
mm,
done,
mm,
and you want him to have you want him to have several mini challenges throughout the way of accomplishing his goal. So Vinny's challenges, or one of the challenges, is that he can't sleep. And because he can't sleep, he can't practice law right. And because he can't do that, he fails. He's failing at his ultimate goal. So that is perfect character conflict that the writer put in there. But the way that he did it is just the way that he did it is he worked it in organically. He didn't force it in. It just worked.
Exactly. So the next morning, Vinny and Mona step into a little diner. And it's so funny. They sit at the counter and they get the menu, and you can't see what's on the menu. And Vinny goes, "What do you think? What do you think, hun? Do you think we should get the breakfast?" And then you see the menu, and it's literally got breakfast, lunch, dinner. There's nothing. You don't even know what you're ordering. And Vinny goes, "Yeah, guess we'll get the breakfast then." And so the cook is cooking the breakfast, and he puts the plate in front of Vinny, and Vinny goes, "What's this?" And he goes, "It's grits." "Yeah, never seen grits?" And he goes, No, I know what they are. And then he asks, "How do you cook it?" And he goes, "Well, you boil it, and then you put it on the plate, and then you add butter." And he goes, How long does it usually take you to cook grits?" And he says, "It takes about 20 minutes. That is integral." That's not a nothing burger. That's integral. Every single scene in this movie is integral. So, thoughts?
I really love that scene because it is absolutely hilarious, and I love Mona's sense of fashion in this movie because she wears some pretty jaw dropping things in this movie. Wouldn't you
You know
agree?
what she dresses? She dresses like the nanny. She dresses like Fran Drescher.
Yeah, she
'Cause I
does. She
think she's
dresses like Fran.
she's even got the hair. That's why I said I think her character's supposed to be from Queens. 'Cause that's when
Yeah.
that's where the nanny's from.
No, no. Actually, no. But actually, they are from Queens. I think.
Oh, there you go. I didn't
They're,
even know.
but the the suit tuxedo that she has on in the scene, the white tuxedo,
Mm.
that thing is fantastic.
I can't remember that.
You don't remember the suit?
No.
It
Huh.
it was like a dress suit for a woman.
Oh, okay. God, I wish I could remember it now. She would
Oh,
look good in it.
no, she did. She looked fantastic. Anyway, I love this scene because, like Dean said, the whole thing about going into a diner and opening up a menu that says breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're like, what the hell is this? And I love the way when the cook starts cooking the breakfast, he just takes a whole bunch of glob of grease and he plops it on the grill. And then he
Ugh.
goes, "So you guys have never heard about the ongoing cholesterol problem in this country?"
Yeah, I
And the
wanted to be
guy,
sick when he put that much lard on the fucking grill.
yeah, and the guy just looks at him like this, like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Oh, but look, like Dean said, this scene this scene is a hat on the ground for something that comes back later in a big way. And I really like how the writer put these little key things that he was going to pay off later into early scenes. But again, he didn't do it like this is going to come back later. This is a smoking gun. He fit it in organically, so he hit it really well.
Mm,
That
yeah.
that to me is a remarkable good writer because someone who can hide critical plot points in scenes that on the surface look like nothing, but then come back to be bigger things. That is a remarkable good writer. So, just real quick, what is your thoughts on the way that the writer has done that? Do you think that he's done that effectively enough?
Yeah, because you think it's a nothing scene until the scene later where it gets brought back and you're like, "Oh, I know how long it takes to cook grits because that was in the first." Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it was shoved in your face. It feels
Right,
very like you said, it feels very organic.
right.
So, Vinny steps into court. Bill and Stan sit next to him, and he's wearing his typical leather jacket, shirt, black pants, and the judge gets up his ass about it. He goes, "What's that?" And Vinny goes, "Clothes?" Like, Vinny is just so unaware of anything. And the judge basically says, "When you come into my court, you wear a suit, you wear a tie, you don't wear this." And Vinny's like, "Yeah, okay, I got it." And then the judge asks Vinny, "How do your clients plead?" And then Vinny starts going on about, oh no, they didn't do it. So it's clear he has no idea what he's going on about. And the judge goes, no. I just need you to tell me guilty or no, not guilty. It's just a plea. And Vinny goes, well, what I'm trying to tell you is that they weren't there when the clerk got shot. And the judge just, fuck it. You can tell the judge is about to blow a fucking gasket. And then he says, come here, come here. And the judge leans forward and he tells him, the next things out of your mouth better be the words guilty or not guilty, because if you say something other than guilty or not guilty, I will hold you in contempt of court. And of course, Vinny doesn't. And he goes, you're in contempt of court. And then he fucking gets arrested, and then Mona has to bail him out because he has no idea what is happening. And that's what's so good about this movie, is that he's set up to be an idiot until the end, where he actually kind of pulls one out of his ass. It's an amazing character arc.
But I will say that at the end, no spoilers, but at the end, he does pull one out of his ass, but he couldn't do it without somebody else.
Of course.
Because if he didn't have this person, there's no way he would have been able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But look, I love this scene. I absolutely love this scene. But the one shocking thing to me, and Dean, you have to back me up on this, and I have to know how you feel about it, other than what you just said. How in the hell has Vinny not seen any lawyer movies in his entire life? Doesn't like, this is inconceivable to me that he would not know what an arraignment is. Like, what kind of fucking law do you practice? Like, everything has a fucking arraignment.
Well, that's the thing. He did go to law school and he did pass the bar exam, so he should know the basics.
He should.
He should. He doesn't even need to watch a movie. He should know the basics.
Like the fact that he doesn't know that before you actually figure out if you need to go to trial, you have an arraignment, and there's only and arraignments last a couple minutes because like Dean said, the you have the prosecution and defense, and the defense puts in a plea for guilty or not guilty, and then they move forward. But that's it.
Yeah,
and
he should have known.
Look, and the fact that he doesn't know that, and the fact that he doesn't know half of the shit that he's supposed to know in this movie, really makes me wonder what kind of fucking law school did he go to?
Yeah. Yeah, but he didn't go. He went to like a little one in New York. Like, he didn't go to one of the big ones.
Yeah. He went to Brooklyn Academy of Law.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they don't teach them that. I don't know.
Mm.
So Mona tells Vinny she was stiffed out of $200 at a local pool hall, and Vinny's just not fucking having this shit. He's a New Yorker. Nobody does this. They don't. No. I'm going to get the money back. So they go there and she points him out. And Joe Pesci, who plays Vinny, is very, very short. He's I think he's like 5'4" or 5'5", something like that. And this guy that stiffed Mona out of $200 is like 6'2", right? So he's he's a big, stocky guy. And he goes up to him and he goes, I want my $200 back. And he's laughing. He's looking at Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci's, not a threat. And he goes, all right, if I kick your ass, will you then give me the $200 back? And the guy's laughing. His friends are laughing. And so he takes his jacket off and goes, all right, I kick your ass, you give it to me. That's it. He goes, all right, okay, I agree to it. And he goes, show me the money. And the guy goes, I can get it. And Vinny goes, all right, get the money and then we'll fight. And that's it. This is a running theme through the movie, but I think there is a point, and I will bring up the point towards the end of the review. So what do you think?
I love this moment because look again. Joe Pesci isn't that tall, but he's fucking Joe Pesci. But I love the moment because it sets up that Vinny is from Brooklyn and he takes no shit. But also, if you do notice, there's a small moment before Mona and Vinny leave the bar where Vinny runs into the guy who owns the bar, and he's wearing a neck brace, and he says, did you fall in your place? Did you fall in your place or somebody else's? And the guy says, my place. And then Vinny just goes, shit, and he walks out. That is very important. Did you understand why he asked him that?
Because he's a personal injury lawyer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I just love little things like that about this movie.
So now we're in court and there's witnesses on the stand. And the first one, there's an older lady, and she says she saw the defendants race out of the grocer into a green convertible with a white top. There's another 2 witnesses that say the same. So there's 3 witnesses that say they saw Bill and Stan run out of the grocer into a green convertible with a white top. And then the judge looks at Vinny. Doesn't do anything in this scene, by the way. The judge looks at Vinny, and Vinny's still wearing, his clothing. And the judge says, "Didn't I tell you that next time you were to come into court, you were to dress appropriately?" And then Vinny goes, "You were serious about that?" And now he's in jail again.
Oh my God. Oh
There's
my God.
so much good dialogue in this movie. I could not write it all in, but I wrote down some of it. But that is gold. That is gold.
Oh yeah, you were serious about that. But listen, I absolutely love the scene after that. Everything about the jury selection is great. But I absolutely love the scene with Stan and Bill and Vinny driving back to the jail on the bus, because Vinny is whistling.
Mm.
And Stan and Bill say, Vin, you didn't know, Vin, you didn't know you could ask questions? And he goes, ask who questions? You could ask them questions.
The witnesses.
And Stan goes, if you could have put up a fight, you could have got the case thrown out. And then Vinny goes, Stan, you killed a good old boy in fucking Alabama. You're from New York. There is no way that this case is not going to trial.
Yeah.
But again, how in the fucking hell does he not know the basics of trial procedure? I understand that in law school he didn't go to court because he had to work nights, okay? But how could he not know what kind of fucking law school doesn't teach you procedure?
I don't know.
And also, has he ever seen a movie about lawyers ever in his life?
Probably, maybe not. Maybe he's just not a movie person or a TV person.
Maybe, yeah.
Because in the 80s, they're probably all out, like, doing stuff, especially him, especially Vinny. He would have been out all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a nice scene between Vinny and Mona where he's sitting down, he's reading the Alabama law book that the judge gave him, and she leans down next to him, and he admits that he's scared because it's his cousin, and he knows that he doesn't know what he's doing, but he feels like he can do it. He's really confused. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I can do it. And she looks up at him and she supports him and she tells him, she loves him, and she goes, you know what? I know you can do this too. I'm here for you. And that's why I love the dynamic, because they support each other, they respect each other in the right times. But this is why I love Mona. She goes, you know what? You can do it. I support you. And she gets into bed and she looks at him and she goes, if you don't fuck it up.
So great.
I love her.
Great. So great.
She's just got to add that sting at the end.
Stinger, yeah.
I love it.
So great. She's like, once you get out there, once you start doing your thing, I think you're going to be really, really great. Walks away, gets in bed. If you don't fuck up. So great. So great.
I love her.
So great. No, listen. No, it's such a great scene. Like Dean just said, it just shows you their loving dynamic, but also the great thing about them is that they love each other clearly, but they can tell each other things that the other needs to know in a loving, respectable, funny way, like Mona just did. It's just great.
Exactly. So Vinny goes back to the pool hall to get the $200. And the guy shows him a wad of cash. And he goes, I got it. I got the $200. And Vinny's standing near his car and he goes, what if that is just $1 notes wrapped in a 20? Can you open it up? Can you fan it out? Can you show me? And then the guy, because he's dumb, he's like, fuck. And he just turns around and walks back to his car. He's like, okay. So the thing that this whole gag is showing is that Vinny is street smart. And that's the whole point of this pool hall saga. He may not be academically smart. He may not be law smart, but he's street smart. He can see people. He can read people. He can read the room. He can see things that people can't see. And that's why Vinny ends up doing what he ends up doing with the case, because he relies on what he knows rather than what the law is telling him.
Yeah, listen, I really like the fact that when the guy comes back from the pool hall, I really love, like Dean said, it shows his street smarts and it shows that this guy is not going to get hustled and this guy is not going to get bamboozled. But it's just a funny scene. Look, and with all the short little bits and bobs in this movie, that subplot in this movie about Vinny needing to fight this guy that stiffed Mona, it's just really great because I love every time this guy shows up is great. Sure,
So Vinny tells Mona he's going hunting with the prosecutor to try and get info out of him about like his witnesses and stuff, right? Because we'll find out in the next scene he has no fucking clue what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mona is bent out of shape about it. He's like, "You're gonna go kill deer? Like, why?" Like, she just does not like the thought. And then he goes, "Baby, do these pants look okay?" and then she comes out of the bathroom. And then what does she say, Marcelo?
So, Mona comes out of the bathroom and goes, imagine you're a deer. You get thirsty, you see a little brook, you put your deer head down to get a nice cool drink of water, and then bam, a fucking bullet rips off part of your fucking head. Your brains are lying on the ground in little bloody pieces. And I ask you, would you give a fuck about the kind of pants that the son of a bitch who shot you was wearing?
It's gold. I love her because she just puts him in his place. She's like, no.
Good.
Oh
so
my God,
good.
it's so good. It's so good. I love it. Oh my God, she is just fucking God. Without her, there is no movie. I'm sorry, Joe Pesci. There's no movie without her.
But also, I mean, spoilers, but she actually won a gold man for this.
Yeah, she won an Oscar. Yeah, deservedly so.
Yeah.
So Vinny returns, from the hunting trip, telling Mona that, and he's carrying a box of all the documents from the prosecutor, right? And he goes, I finessed him. I finessed him so much into giving me his case file. He's so pleased with himself.
Stupid.
He's just like, I am the man. And Mona's sitting there with this look on her face like, I'm going to just burst his bubble and I'm going to love doing it. I swear she's me in something. She just loves taking the piss out of him. And so she looks at him and she goes, by law, he has to. It's called disclosure, you dickhead. And he just sits there and he's just looking at her like, what the fuck? She knows more about law than he does because it's right. The prosecutor they have to share everything equally, which is, it's not, you didn't finesse anybody. He has to give it to you legally. Oh, it's so funny.
No, I mean, listen. I love the fact that Vinny thinks he is like the smartest person in the room, and I really love how Mona brings him down constantly. Like Dean just said, she takes the piss out of him every single time. I love the dynamic between the two of them, but also I love the really, really quick line after Mona says, It's called disclosure, dickhead. They didn't teach you that in law school either. And it's so great. So great.
So the next scene is it's a small montage scene of Vinny interviewing the 3 witnesses that we saw before. He goes to their home and he's trying to get like information out of him that will come back later. Vinny is studying hard for the trial. Mona brings up she goes out. And she goes, look, I know this may not be the right time to bring it up, but, we're not married yet. You said when you won your first case, we'd get married. Like, I'm getting older. My younger cousin, she's getting married. Like, what are we going to do? We've been together 10 years, like you promised me. And he looks up at her. And what does he say?
Mona, I do not need this right now. I do not need this right now. I have a judge that's just aching to throw me in jail. I got an idiot that wants to fight me for $200. Loud whistles, slaughtered pigs. I have no money, a dress code problem, and not to mention, a little murder case that holds the life of 2 innocent kids in the balance. Your life, our marriage. my career. Like, is there any more shit that we could pile on the top of the outcome of this case? Is it possible? Maybe it was a bad time to bring it up. It's
And that's why I love them, because he just goes on this rant, and instead of her yelling back and getting the shit, she pauses and she goes, maybe it was a bad time to bring it up. And then she just walks away because she knows he's at his limit. So Vinny and Mona are staying in the woods because the prosecutor said, look, I know you're having trouble sleeping, so you can sleep in my cabin. There's no noise, there's nothing. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, this fucking owl, and Vinny comes out in his shorts and a leather jacket, like firing a gun in all directions because he's so pissed off. And then the owl, and there's the way that the director has filmed it is you can see that the owl is sitting in front of the camera and it's pointed down, and you can see Vinny running out of the house shooting the gun. So everything is in frame. And then the owl stops squawking. And then Vinny goes back in thinking he's scared it off. And then the owl just goes, like again. It's funny. So they end up sleeping in the car. I don't know why the car is any different to the fucking, maybe I don't know. Did they go away from the cabin?
Yeah. They drove into the middle of a fucking field.
Oh, that's right. So they're in the field and it's been raining. It rained the night before, and Vinny tries to start the car, but it's bogged down in the mud, and he looks out the window. Oh my God, this is what makes you feel. Vinny is he's a good guy, and he just gets shit thrown at him. As soon as he steps out of the car, he slips in the mud. He's got like the whitest sneakers on. He slips and he just lies there for a minute because he's just like, I've had enough, right? And then he tries to get up and he falls on his stomach. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he gets up and he goes to the back of the car, the trunk, and he opens it, and he grabs a plank of wood. He's going to put it under the back tire so he can go. And it catches. He tries to take it out of the boot. It catches on a bag, and the bag flings out of the car into the mud. And he looks at it, and he's very calm. Again, he's at that stage where it's like psychotic calm. And he goes, babe, what was in that? What was in that plastic bag in the trunk? And Mona goes, oh, it was your suit. I thought I'd have it dry cleaned for you. It look really nice for court. And he was like, why was it in the boot? Sorry, the trunk. Why was it in the trunk? So his new suit that the judge made him get is now all fucked up. And he pulls into town. And he's got to try and find a suit, but nothing. Dry cleaners isn't open. The fucking shops aren't open. Like nothing's fucking open. It's a small town. So he runs across the road to a place. What's the place? It's costumes.
No. It's a secondhand store, and the reason why the suit place isn't open is because the whole suit place has a flu.
Oh, that's right. The whole suit place has the flu. That's right. So he sees his secondhand place and he runs across the road. Now, the guy from the pool hall is standing in his way and he goes, I got the $200. And Vinny is over it by this time. And he literally goes and just jumps him and snatches the money out of his hand and just walks off. And his friends are like, what the fuck? And that's it. It's just so funny.
I absolutely love this scene so much. Because I love it when Vinny and Mona wake up in the car and Vinny, his neck is like cracking. He just tries to get up and he just tries to go over to the driver's side, and he kind of pushes Mona against the seat, and he pulls the jacket away from her. She goes, ah, fuck. She just kind of because he takes his jacket, he pulls it away from her, and she just kind of goes whack towards the other way. It sounds really small, but it's a funny moment. But I absolutely love it when he gets out of the car and he throws his suit into the mud. It's just, I think, again, I mentioned it before, I love the way that the writer keeps giving Vinny ridiculous obstacles. And I love it how everything in this movie is not easy for him. It's just an absolute joy. And I love the ticking clock that this has on it, because he has 30 minutes to take a shower, get to the fucking courthouse, because this is day one of the trial.
Yeah.
So like, I love the sense of comedic urgency that these two scenes have to it.
It's funny because when Vinny walks into court, I don't even know what it looks like a magician's outfit. Like, what's he wearing?
It looks like he looks like a waiter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought magician, waiter, and then the judge goes, "What is that?"
Such a good scene. Such a good scene. Such a good
Now,
scene.
what's the dialogue that he says?
Judge goes, Mr. Gambini, what are you wearing? He goes, a suit. And judge goes, is that suit made out of some cloth? And he goes, explain that outfit. And then so Vinny goes, well, I had a suit. You've seen it. Now it's covered in mud. I went to go get the suit cleaned, but this town doesn't have a 1 hour cleaner. And the only store in town that has a 1 hour cleaner has a flu. So it was either with a leather jacket, which I know you hate, or this ridiculous thing just for you. So I wore this thing just for you. And then the judge goes, I don't like your attitude. And then and then Vinny goes, well, there's a fucking surprise. and then he goes, and then the judge goes, I'm holding you into contempt of court. I'm like, really? the guy, like, could he get any worse for this guy?
Oh
No,
my God, it's so funny.
Trotter does his opening statement, and I love the way that the actor who plays Trotter, because he plays Perry White in Lewis and Clark. It's a great actor.
I know. Yeah.
I don't even know his name. I love the way that Trotter does his opening statement, because it's so dramatic and it's so like it's very, very theatrical. Mm-hmm. So Trotter does his opening statement, and then the judge calls on Vinny. And Vinny is sitting in the seat next to Bill, fast asleep. And the judge goes, Mr. Gambini, and then Bill has to wake him up. He gets up and he goes up to the jury and says, everything that guy just said is bullshit. He walks off, he sits back down, and then one of the funniest scenes in the movie is when the other attorney gets up, the one that Stan just hired, and he goes, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, on September 4th of this year, my clients did indeed enter the Second convenience store, but they did. I mean, it's just so funny. It's painful. My God. Yeah, so it is so painful, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Sorry.
So when Vinny's turn is up to question the first witness, he says, basically, tell me what you saw. And the guy says, well, I saw them. He goes, can you point to them? He points to the guys. I saw those two defendants go into the sack of suds, and then 5 minutes later, they come rushing out, get in their car, and then go. And Vinny goes, okay, what were you doing when you saw this? And he goes, I was cooking grits. And he goes, right.
Oh, wow. I wonder if that's going to play a role.
Right. And he goes, so you saw them go in, and within 5 minutes, you finished cooking your grits. That's it, 5 minutes. And he goes, yeah. He goes, all right. So how does it take you 5 minutes? Because when they went in, you started it. And when they came out, you finished cooking. How does it take you 5 minutes when it takes the rest of the grit eating world 20 minutes to cook the grits? And he's like, maybe, what does he say? Like, maybe I cook fast or something.
And he goes, and and then when he goes, I was way over here, I couldn't hear it. Did you say you were a fast cook? Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, tell the rest of the scene.
And he goes, and he goes, wait a minute. He said, hold on, give me a second. so then he goes, I was way over here. I didn't hear that. Did you say I was a fast cook? And he goes, and the guy goes, maybe, I guess. And he goes, so he goes, am I led to believe that the laws of physics cease to exist on your stove? Or is it possible that you have found a magical way? Because how come it takes you 5 minutes to cook your grits when it takes the grit eating roll 25 minutes. And like Dean said earlier on, that's where the grits thing comes back, and it's just great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And so he
Uh,
just
yeah, go ahead.
no, he just blasts his whole testimony out of the water. Totally.
Yep.
And then the next witness is up. And then Vinny shows him photographs. And he goes, "Could you tell me what that's a photo of?" And he goes, "My house." And his house is near the grocer. That's why he's saying he saw them run in and then come out. And he goes, and what's this a picture of? And he's like, "My windows." And it's like, "Well, what's that brown stuff on the windows?" And he's like, "Mud." And he goes, and what's this? What's this other thing on the window? He's like, "A screen." He goes, "Right. And what are these things in the way of the grocer? What are these things?" And he's like, "Trees?"
Trees.
And he's like, "Trees, right. And what are these little things in between the trees?" He's like, "Bushes?" Oh, leaves, that's right. What are these things on the trees? Leaves. And what are these little things in the middle of the trees? Bushes? He goes, right. And so he's saying, and you saying you saw these two particular guys with the mud and the screens and the trees and the leaves and the bushes through all of that. You are certain that these two guys, they were the ones that ran out. And the guy was like, "No." And then he goes, "I'm done with this guy."
I'm done with this guy. But actually, my favorite scene of him disproving the prosecution's case is when he talks to the woman with the glasses. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yes. So the next witness, the last one, is an older lady. She's really sweet. She's got really thick glasses on. And she says she saw the defendants rush out of the grocer. And Vinny says, "You always wear those? Were you wearing those glasses when you saw them?" "Yes, I was." "Okay, cool. Do you think that you need to update your glasses?" No, I think they're fine. I think they're good." "Okay." And then he asks, "How far away were you when you saw the defendants come out of the store?" And she was like, "About 100 feet. So he takes out a measuring tape and he asks her to hold it. He goes, "Can you hold this, please?" And he walks all the way to the back of the court with the measuring tape. And he says, "All right, this is about 50 feet. How many fingers am I holding up?" And he's holding up 2 fingers. And then the judge goes, "Let the jury know that he's holding up 2 fingers." And Vinny goes, "Judge, really?" And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then Vinny takes his hand out again. He holds up 2 fingers again. And he goes, "How many fingers am I holding up now?" And the woman is sitting there and she's adjusting her glasses and she says, 4. And you can hear everybody in the court go, "Oh." And he's like, "All right, thank you." Just to prove that if she can't see 50 feet away, she ain't going to be able to see anything 100 feet away.
I listen. I really love these collections of scenes because it really shows you how much Vinny has learned throughout the process of defending his cousin and his cousin's friend. It's just a really great scene showing you that he's really a capable, really good fucking lawyer. He just needed to learn everything. The other thing that I like that is doing, it's really showing you that the prosecution built this entire case on very, very thin evidence. They built their entire case on a house of straw, and Vinny is burning it down piece by piece.
Yeah, exactly. With like no expertise, because that's how flimsy the case is that even Vinny can kind of tear it apart. So next, the prosecutor questions a professor of automotive studies that works for the FBI, a very fancy name.
Mhm.
And he shows the guy tire tracks from the sack of suds to try and get a match for the car. And this guy says the tracks match the model of the car. Now, Vinny and Mona have had a massive, massive fight.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
And she just wants, because he was sitting in the diner before she comes up to him, she's talking to him, he's stressed, he snaps at her and she's like, "Well, fuck you." She walks away and he's like, "Oh my God." Like, I get it. It's the first time they actually have a fight, but they're both stressed. And
No,
he
but
is doing a
no,
trial for his cousin. Yeah.
yeah, but also that moment is well earned because, like Dean just said, Vinny is like he's really fucking stressed out, and not to mention that after this case at 3 o'clock, the judge was going to get a call back from the New York law bar, you know, supposedly to find out that Gambini was lying to him the whole time, so he could go to jail for real this time.
Exactly. So they've had a huge blowout, and Vinny doesn't know what to do. Like there's this professor guy that knows everything about cars, and he's sitting there and he's looking at the tire tracks. Then there's a photo that Mona took outside the sack of suds, and he's looking at the tire tracks, and he gets this inspiration, and he's like, oh my God, I know what to do. He asks the judge for like 5 minutes to just go out and get a witness, and he goes out. Mona's on the phone. She tells him, get the fuck away from me. I don't want to talk to him. He's like, no, I need your help. I need your help. And she's just like, no, I'm not help. Like he basically lifts her up and like pushes her into the courtroom. He's like, no, you're going to help me. I need your help. And she's so pissed off. She does remind me of me when I'm pissed off. She's like an alley cat. She's just like, get the fuck away from me. I will scratch your eyes out. And she tries to leave, and the judge goes, no, you can't leave. You're a witness. And he puts her on the witness stand, and she's pissed. Like her facial expressions are priceless. And he tries to talk to her. She's like, I'm not talking to you. She doesn't realize she's sitting on a witness stand in a court case, and she's still like as if it's between her and him. And he's just like, just do this for me. Just be angry at me later. Just fucking please do this for me. So he puts her on the witness stand to rebut the other guy's testimony because she's an expert in cars, which was brought up at the beginning of the movie. So this does not come out of nowhere. Now, her testimony that she gives, I did not write her dialogue down. There was too much of it, but it is the best scene in the movie. If you know what she said, say it. I don't know what she said.
That one, that scene, that seems a little bit too much for me, but I can give you the gist of what she said.
Go for it.
So in the year that the model of car that the boys have and the model of car that the criminals have that actually shot the guy, they have this the same tire, the same wheelbase, the same type of rubber, but the axle is different. So since the axle is different, when it spins and when it makes tire marks, it's a little bit different for some reason. So that's the one thing that Mona could pick on could look at and could prove because she knew so much about cars by just looking at the picture of the tire marks that she actually took when they first showed up. But yeah, like Dean said, that scene is like so thick, and I can't really recite it scene by scene. I'm sorry, guys, but that's a little bit too much.
But it's fantastic. Like everything she says, good. It's fantastic. So her testimony ends up blasting the other guys out of the water.
And before you go on, I agree with everything you said, but the great thing about that scene is as Vinny is questioning her about the photo, and once she picks up to what she has to say, I love the way that they start flirting. On the witness stand. They start making up on the witness stand. It's just great.
Yeah. I mean, her testimony, even the judge is stunned with her car knowledge. Like she knows more than anybody, than the professor guy.
Yeah. Also, Trotter tries to get her thrown out. He gives her a trick question about cars just to make sure she knows what to make sure that she knows what she's talking about.
Yep, exactly. And she passes with flying colors. And so after her testimony, Vinny recalls the professor of automotive studies to the stand, and he asks, is Mona's testimony accurate? And he looks at the photos and he says, yeah, it's accurate. And he asks him if the defendant's car could have made those tire tracks. And the guy says no. And by this point, you kind of know that they're on the verge of winning. Now, previously, Vinny had given a note to the sheriff and he says, please look this up. We don't know what it is. Now the sheriff comes back and he goes and he puts him on the stand. And he goes, could you tell us what you've found out? Now, he gave the sheriff a note of, I think it was the car that he thought that the guys were driving. Is that what the note was? To look up on
No,
the computer.
no. He gave him the model. He gave him the model. He gave him the model of the car, and
Yeah, the car.
yes, yeah. The car model. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. And so the sheriff gets on the stand and he says that car was found being driven by two men similar looking to the defendants, with the same tires as the defendant's car and with a .357 Magnum revolver in the car with them. And then he says the gun that killed the clerk was the same gun. And so that throws everything out. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then the prosecutor says the state dismisses all charges.
Yeah, listen, I love this moment when Vinny has the sheriff at the stand and he's just reading everything off. And I love the way that he prances around the courtroom and he just gives Trotter a look like he's like, I got you, motherfucker. I win.
Yeah.
It's just so good. But let me make something out. Let me make something clear here. Trotter is not a bad person. He's not a bad person. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he's just doing his job. So if you're watching this movie thinking that Trotter is the villain and the judge is the villain, these people aren't villains. They're just doing their jobs.
Yeah, they're just adversaries. They're not villains.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the movie, Vinny gives the judge a fake name. He's like, "No, my name's Jerry Gallo," right?
Gallo.
Right? And so the judge looks him up, and then Mona goes, "Jerry Gallo, he just died, right?" And Vinny's like, and then he goes, "This is all happened before, right?" And then he goes back, and the judge goes, "Jerry Gallo," and Vinny goes, "Yeah, he's dead. My name's not Jerry Gallo, it's Jerry Callo with a C. You misheard." And the judge is looking at him like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" That's why he only has till 3:00, because he goes, 3:00, the clerk's going to be in, I'm going to call, and if you are not who you say you are, blah, blah, blah. Now, when Vinny rushed out and Mona was on the phone, Mona was actually on the phone to a judge that Vinny knows back.
Yeah. Judge Malloy. Judge Malloy. It's the judge that Vinny met when he was arguing the traffic ticket with the cop.
Right. So she was calling him to ask a favor that when this judge calls the office, could you please make up a story that Jerry Callo exists and write all this shit that's not true, right? So Vinny doesn't get arrested. So after it, Vinny's outside. And he wants to get away because he knows if it's 3:00, he's got, and everyone's congratulating him. He's like, yeah, cool. And then the judge comes up to him and he goes, "Mr. Gambini." And Vinny's like, "Oh, shit." And he goes, "I just want to shake your hand because the list of accomplishments you've got, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "What?" He thought he was done until he realizes that when he's driving in the car with Mona, she actually tells him she got Judge Malloy too.
She goes, "Oh my God, what a fucking nightmare."
Well, because Vinny says he wanted to win this case without any help from anyone, on his own. And Mona says, "Well, this is a sign of things to come. You win case after case with the help of someone else, and then you have to say thank you." Oh my God, what a fucking nightmare. So she's just poking fun at him, and he's just sitting there like, "Yeah, okay." And this is the funniest line. Vinny says, "I won my first case, so you know what that means." And she's like, "Nah, not interested." He's like, "What? You don't even want to, now I've won my first case, you don't want to get married?" And then Mona says, "Oh, you can't even win a case by yourself. You're fucking useless." after she helped him, she was like, "Oh my God, you have to thank someone." And now she's like, "You can't even win a case by yourself. You're fucking useless." And I was like, "Oh," and he just sits there with a smile because he knows that that's who she is. And she's just playing with him. And then it ends with basically them bickering. And I love it.
Yeah. the way this movie ends with a final scene between Vinny and Mona is just so great. And also, I love the song that comes over. The Bible Bell is such a
Oh,
good
it's a good song. It's a good
way
song.
to end this movie. But yeah, this movie is a classic. I watched it as a kid. I had it on VHS. I have it on Blu-ray. Every time
Mm.
I watch it, I'm in stitches.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So, what was your trivia before I go to mine? What was your one?
Well, my trivia was the reason why this movie is so accurate from a lawyer's perspective because the director of this movie actually has a law degree.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that wasn't in my
And
trivia, but I did know that.
yes, and also I don't know if this is also in your trivia, but if it is, I'll take it out. They actually show this movie in law school to
Yeah.
to people that want to be lawyers. And according to the New York Bar Association, this is the most accurate movie about lawyers ever made.
Yeah. That's not in my trivia, but yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's just it was so fascinating. And also, the writer of this movie got the idea about this movie from a lawyer, a friend of his who was having trouble passing the bar. And the way that the writer set everything up with the people in the grits thing, he actually went down to Alabama on a research mission. And everything that he found out about Alabama and the people and the culture, he put into the script.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's your trivia, folks. That's it.
No, there's more.
No,
I hope there's more.
There's more. So there was actually going to be a sequel. They were writing a sequel.
Wow.
But Marissa Tomei didn't want to do it, and they couldn't make it work without her character, so they scrapped it.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? She's just won an Oscar for something for this movie, and she doesn't want to come back and do the sequel. Very strange.
Oh, that sucks. That, I mean, listen, that to me is kind of like ungrateful. I'm like, because
Yeah, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah,
Maybe it was a shit script.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Also, listen, they might have been really high on it, but if she didn't like the script, she's well within her rights to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Christopher Lloyd was considered for the role of the judge, but we got Herman Munster instead, which is much better.
Yeah, Herman Munster is so good in this movie. I love the judge's curmudgeonly, I don't give a fuck energy.
Yeah, it's so good. Jim Belushi turned down the role of Vinny, and he regrets it.
Oh, okay. Well, to be honest with you, I can't see anybody else but Joe Pesci playing the role of Vinny.
That's great.
As great as Jim Belushi was, it's no, I can't see it.
And Danny DeVito and John Lovitz were considered for Vinny. I could see Danny DeVito in it.
I mean, I can, but it's a hard sell for me. Definitely a hard sell.
Yeah, but that's it. That is my trivia.
All right, guys. So that'll do it for this edition of the Mixtape Pod. Listen, guys, if you like the stuff that we do here and you want to send us a message with comments or questions, you can email us. We have an email. It is themixtapepod at AOL.com. But also, if you want to hear back episodes of our show, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. We are at youtube.com/themixtape podcast. You can go over there and listen to the back catalog of our episodes and like some of our episodes. And if you like our stuff, please consider becoming a subscriber to our lovely, lovely show here. But if you're going to come back next week, we're going to talk about one of my favorite films from one of my favorite franchises of all time, folks. The Boy Who Lived. Next week, we're going to talk about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Woo! But until then, for my fellow co-host, Dean Stark, I will just say, as I always say, if someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must truly mean that they love you.
The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.